one more bit of news. Not next Wednesday, but the week after will be the last Casually Grounded stream. And we'll have more news on that next
time. This is where I'm getting raided by lava.
But yeah, no worry, we're not gonna go anywhere. But yeah, so just to let everybody know, so in 2 weeks, we'll have some good times, and it looks getting rated. But other than that, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. As always, stay safe and stay grounded. Bye, everybody.
That clip was from the end of the Casually Grounded live stream yesterday, which means the final Casually Grounded live stream will be on May 29th, 2024. And after hearing the news, I decided I was going to make a video on this because the Casually Grounded live stream was part of my weekly routine for quite a long time. I originally started covering Grounded in May of 2021 and covered it almost exclusively all the way up and past the 1.0 release in September of 2022. And I watched the Casually Grounded live stream live pretty much every week during that time period. If I couldn't catch it live, I would watch the VOD of it later on because there was always a chance that the Q&A at the end, they were going to reveal some upcoming news update, or maybe during their gameplay, they were going to show off something that had not been shown before. And I always wanted to tune in because, you know, there's always a chance they could answer your question. They definitely answer some of my questions over time. They also did weekly giveaways, which they're still doing, and I was fortunate enough at one point during one of the shows to get this Omni Practical Technologies t-shirt here. So thanks again for that, Obsidian. Definitely a cool shirt that will stay in my collection for quite a long time. And watching that live stream, that little clip right there at the end of that live stream yesterday, I think it was pretty obvious that this is going to be an emotional ending for this show. It's been on for 3.5 years. It's completely understandable. If you do something for almost every week for 3.5 years, when it comes to an end, it's going to be very hard. So I'm going to definitely tune in to the final live stream on the 29th, as long as I'm able to. If not, I'll catch the VOD of it, but I'm definitely going to watch it because I'd love to be able to watch it live just to participate and thank them again for making a great game. And in doing the reason I'm making this video, like I said, is because the Grounded live stream was part of my weekly routine for such a long time. So rather than focusing on the somber mood around the end of the Casually Grounded live stream after 3.5 years, I thought it would be better to just do an upbeat video here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a look at the Q&A session from the very first Casually Grounded live stream on January 27th, 2021. I have not watched this live stream myself. This was before I was actually really playing the game, but I found it on YouTube. I did watch the first 30 seconds or so of the Q&A just to see kind of what kind of questions were asked. And after hearing the first question, I was like, you know what, this would be really fun to see the questions that are asked here 3.5 years ago versus how the game ended up being in May of 2024. So let's jump into it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I do. On the first Casually Grounded live stream, there's two familiar faces in Shyla and Eric, who are on many, if not most, of the Casually Grounded live streams. And then in the top left is Adam, who's the game director of the game. So just for reference, this was in January 2021. This was after the Koi Pond update and during the public test server when bees and mosquitoes were added to the game.
Just looking
I'll
at
do
the
my
bees.
best to answer.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the beauty of it. We're going to answer as much as we can. We're going to leave some up to mystery, depending on.
Hi, Nicole. Yeah, I got wrecked. Let's see. Well, we have a log our mods have been filling up a chat with, so let me see.
Here's one. So SOT Spectre asked if we have any plans to add bigger creatures that we can fight, like the spiders, but even bigger so the game gets even more scary and makes you feel even smaller.
We want to do more with the bird. We still really haven't figured out how you actually interact with the bird yet, so that's the challenge behind bigger creatures. Right now the spider is like the biggest hostile thing that we have planned for, but we definitely want to look at bigger creatures to see, like, hey, because the experience is super cool, right? Like even just getting up where the bird is, getting close to the bird, it's like, wow, this thing's enormous. So yeah, there's just some game design challenges that we have to figure out on our side before we can introduce that, but it's definitely something on our radar that we want to do.
I always thought it would have been cool if the bird would have either, because of something you did, maybe go like in its nest or something or get too close to it, or it would just randomly just decide to come down, swoop down and try to pick you up. And if it picked you up, you'd have to have like a dandelion tuft or whatever to survive the fall. I thought that would have been super cool. Obviously, that never happened. You can peep the bird now, but there was never any interactions with the bird. So it's something that just didn't make it into the game. I guess it's probably because over time they just felt like it probably really didn't fit, because they never did really add any really large creatures. They didn't add any animals or anything to the yard. So the bird having obviously the fish is there. The fish, the fish can obviously, if you get too close to it, will kill you. But I think the bird would have been a little bit tougher, so I'm not surprised that the bird didn't really have any interactions other than just flying around and dropping feathers.
Nice. And then just to help them out, ideas and stuff that you may have that may be coming up, months down the line and stuff. We do have a grounded feature board on our website that you guys can go to. You guys can see some of the stuff that the team has ideas to work on, has been talking about. And that way, if you have a suggestion for something else that you don't see on the feature board, you can suggest it to us, and then maybe you'll see it on the feature board later.
I will say they did a really good job with the feature board. From all the way through early access, they did a really good job of keeping it updated, putting things on there. When things didn't fit, they would remove them. But there was always, most of the things that were on the feature board, to the best of my memory, that were on there ended up in the game in some way, some form or fashion. So they did really do a good job of keeping that updated, and it would kind of give you at any time you could go see a snapshot of here's what we're planning on coming in the future. Not necessarily guaranteed, but just an idea of what they were thinking at the time.
Oh, I hear a wolf spider. Where is it? Oh, Eric's back at the bench.
Yeah,
Nice.
mosquito got me. Let me see here. Let me scroll up.
Oh, here we go. The Sabertooth channel. So this game got PvP yet? Question mark.
Oh yeah, no PvP for this game. Though
you can still poke each other with the you can.
Yeah, I mentioned
fight
this.
each other,
Yeah, I
but
mentioned this in the Discord that you can build your own arena, and then play on medium mode. So you can just have a faux PvP because there's friendly fire, and then you can just do it that way.
Well, right now it's not in our plans to do a PvP specific game mode. It's we're focused on cooperative gameplay right now.
I definitely appreciate that. This game, while obviously you can do PvP, and I know some people have done PvP, it just really felt like it was always meant to be a PvE game. So I'm glad that even from the beginning, they were just like, you know what, PvP is not going to be a focus of ours, even though generally PvP will make your game more widely popular. Not to say this game wasn't popular. A lot of people played it, obviously, but in the the grand scheme of things, when you look at the games that have the most players, that last the longest, make the most money and stuff like that, it's generally PvP games. So I'm glad that they didn't just give into that possibility of or give into the the people that were asking for it, or possibly the temptation of saying, oh, what if we make the next Rust or something like that, and we have this PvP survival game that just draws all these people. Instead, they focused on what they wanted to do, and they ended up building a great PvE game.
Nice. Let's see. Yeah, and as the classified said, bomb wars are fun with friends.
Sorry if I butcher your username, Nor Dippy. Will the beehive have a real purpose, or is it just a place for bees to go home and drop off their pollen?
I would hope it has a purpose someday. But yeah, that's something that we're looking at. I think there's the challenge there is figuring out what that is and how does the player interact with it. That's just kind of I'll probably say that a lot in my answers is just when you get to bigger things, since you are the size of an ant, how do you actually get in there and interact? And I think that's something that we are actively discussing at the team because the experience would be super cool.
Obviously, that didn't happen either. The beehive used to be on the picnic table for anybody who didn't play the game during early access. It ended up being moved into the oak tree, where you pretty much wouldn't even know it's there unless you went looking for it, and you can't even get to it, I don't think, without building or glitching your way up there. So I always thought that the beehive, the way they could have incorporated into the game would have been to have it be a little mini dungeon. Now, obviously, it would have had to be bigger, because even though it was a big size, it was decent sized. It wasn't it wouldn't have been a huge biome. But I always thought it would have been cool to be able to go in there and maybe there was a queen bee as a boss and you would get honey from it and you could use honey for whatever various reasons. Like I always thought it would be cool to have like a honey trap that you could that would like be like a sticky trap that would slow enemies down when they were attacking your base, or maybe you were just trying to fight them out in the wild. You put a honey trap down and it would slow them down. So that didn't happen. They ended up replacing the beehive with the honey pot, and there was never any. I don't think they never added honey to the game, but they ended up just not putting it in. I guess it just didn't end up fitting because a queen bee, while it would have been cool, I guess they just didn't think it made sense. So they kind of just moved it around up into the tree, like I said, and it yeah, kind of many of you probably didn't even know it existed if you didn't play it until after 1.0.
Oh, I'm like
My video.
Half.
Oh,
Half
there
and
it is.
half.
We lost someone.
my
Oh,
beard.
Oh,
there
there
it is.
you are.
There it is.
You
It's
could be
fixed.
Shyla. Yay, I'm back.
What else we got here? Are more characters coming to the game?
Are more characters, like playable characters? I'm assuming that's what they're asking.
I
Right now,
believe
it's
so
not-
too.
Right now, it's not in the plans to add any more playable characters. We want to focus on our 4 characters that we have and expand on them.
I always wondered why people asked for more playable characters, or can we have more players in the game? The map feels like it was built for a maximum of 4 players in terms of size. And the 4 characters, it's a story-driven game. This isn't like you go in and you get like a generic character creator and you create your own character and dress it up and give it a name or whatever. Like the game is a story-driven game around the 4 teens that are in the game. So I never understood why people wanted more than the teens there. They were each unique. They had unique personalities, unique voice lines and stuff like that. And while they didn't have like unique traits or anything in terms of like skills or anything, like they didn't have different skills or positives or negative traits. If you played with each one of them, you would get different reactions and different voice lines to different situations, like if different bugs came up or during just different scenarios or different situations while you're playing through the game. So I think the right decision was just to keep it at the 4 and just kind of not expand on it because it really wouldn't have made much sense.
Jetwalker says, hey, this game is amazing. Have you guys
Thank you.
thought about mobilities such as riding insects, gliding, or leaf boats?
We have thought about all those things. Those are great ideas. And it's just one of those things that we just have to polish up and figure out how do we actually introduce it into the game, make it cool, make sure that it's balanced and it has a purpose in the game before we introduce riding on creatures. I do like leaf boats too. I'm not sure exactly what gameplay you can do with a leaf boat, but you just paddle around.
Maybe some
Yeah.
some racing, race each other. Get to
Ooh,
the end
I
of the
like that.
pond the fastest.
So obviously all the way back then, people asking for mounts. Now, curiously enough, back then they did not say like straight up say no to the mounts. Later on, when it was asked, it was kind of like we're not really planning on it. Then eventually it was just like no. Personally, I don't think mounts would have made sense in this game because the map is not that large. It's not big enough that you would need a mount to get around on. Now, having pets like they added, like having a pet ant or something that could carry extra resources for you may have made sense. But I think like some people wanted like flying mounts and stuff like that, or mounting spiders, and I just think that didn't really fit into the game. You do have zip lines, and then they have added the teleporters later on, which you have to get to, I think, like New Game Plus 2 or something, or 3 to unlock them. So there are ways to fast travel later on after you've played through the game. But overall, with the size of the map and the scope of the game, I just don't think mounts really would have made much sense. So I think maybe having something like a better glider where you could actually glide instead of having just the dandelion tuft, maybe have like a leaf glider or something where you could travel longer distances would have made sense, because that would have still required you to either get to like a tall place or build like a little tower to get up there. But then again, the zip lines kind of fit that purpose anyway. And then once they added the zipper, which lets you go back and forth on the zip lines, it kind of like negated the need to even have that.
Will we lose your saves once the game is complete? I'm assuming will you be resetting the game once early access is over?
We haven't. I mean, we considered doing something like that. I think it just depends on what we add in terms of quests and story. Those things are pretty hard to reset. while you're in midway through the game. So we're just going to take a look at that. It might be something where we don't reset your save, but we have a notice saying like, hey, we strongly recommend that you restart. So you don't lose your stuff, but at the same time, there might be a point where we want you to start a new game from scratch. So it might be something that we just recommend, like, hey, nudge, nudge, you should probably start a new game. Otherwise, if you do continue with your old save, there might be some broken stuff.
Not forcing the restart for 1.0, I think a lot of people appreciated that because there were people that had hundreds of hours on their saves. I will say, though, that having done both ways, playing on a pre-existing save, which had hundreds of hours and literally had chests full of every resource, and then starting a new save when the 1.0 update came out, it was a night and day difference in terms of experience. If you had a pre-existing save where you had everything unlocked, you could literally just blow through all the new content very quickly because you could upgrade everything. You had strong weapons and armor and stuff like that because you more likely than not just had been farming it while just playing the game. If you started over, the journey was definitely more challenging. Getting the resources needed to upgrade things and repair things, and even just being able to upgrade gear. Like on my pre 1.0 save, I'm pretty sure at the time I had every weapon and armor in the game at the max level. And then after 1.0, even though I put quite a bit of time into those saves, I only got a few things up to max level. I think I had like one armor set and maybe one or two weapons. So it was definitely it was more of a, I would say, survival experience if you started over. It was definitely cool that they didn't wipe people's progress because I know that would have upset a lot of people, especially people that have built like giant castles and all kinds of cool stuff.
Let's see. I have a two-parter here. Two different players, two different questions, but they kind of go hand in hand. Sniper Scope 2005 wants to know if at some point maybe more icons could be added to the chests and markers, while Undead Slayer wants to know if they can lock their chests. I guess they have some not so friendly friends.
I would, if you're interested in more in different icons, I would recommend maybe going on Discord and saying which icons you're looking for, because that would definitely help us out. And for lock stuff, we've talked about it. There isn't like a super big need to lock your chest, but I think that's something that it's definitely on the table, and then we have to look at like, hey, how do we do this easily? And I hope you have your password written down.
So they eventually added the ability to name chests, and I think they added more icons, stuff like that. Huge thing, because if you have like 40 chests, even though like you maybe remember where most of the things are, it was definitely cool to be able to put things in there. But even above and beyond that, I would say that of every survival game I've ever played, Grounded has far and away set they've set the level for, or the bar for, what storage should be. And what I mean by that is like your base storage. They made it where originally you had to like manually deposit everything. You couldn't name anything. And in the end, like now you can name your chests. There's icons you can put on there. You can hot deposit items. You can craft from the chest as long as they're within a certain number of tiles of the crafting station you're using. All things that are huge quality of life that having played a couple of other survival games after that, and it's like, how does this game not have this? I'm like, I love this game, but I can't craft from storage. I can't hot deposit. I don't really want to spend 10 minutes every time I go back to my base remembering where I need to put every single item and then sorting them and all that kind of stuff. So while it didn't have it at the beginning, they did put that in over time. So definitely kudos for that. The locking the chest thing never came because honestly, like, there's no matchmaking. And if you're playing with people, if you're playing with someone who's just going to be like griefing you, why are you playing with them at all anyway? So I don't think that was ever a need for the game. So it makes sense that it never came in.
Well, Eric, you should come back to the flooded zone. The fireflies are landing.
I'm on the way.
Yeah. They look so cool as they fly down.
We're gonna do another mug giveaway. So just do !mug to be entered. And then we'll do the drawing towards the end of the stream.
For this giveaway, we are giving away a brand new poncho mug. Fill this mug with your favorite poncho, whether it be lemon crime, what is it? Raspberry punch. I always remember Lumbercard peach fuzz. Or your favorite Jabby Cola, or water, because everybody loves water. And then when you get your mug, you can do some science and let us know how many droplets fit inside this mug. I know more than one will. So the Puncho mug, link is up so that you guys can check it out. And, oh yeah, and you have to be following the channel to enter the contest, right?
Oh, stink bug. Yes, correct.
And then plus that way you'll be notified as, oh, that's a wolf spider. You'll be notified as we continue to do these weekly streams when we go live. And you can come join us, hang out with us every Wednesday.
Also, if you guys want to
okay.
get your suggestions, there's a link to Discord, or just go to discord.gg/groundedthegame. And you can actually go and use the suggestion bot to enter your suggestion, and then people will vote on it.
Yeah. Speaking of the fireflies, since you're making your way out, so Rasta Lee would like to know where the fireflies go during the day.
They go to sleep. So that's one thing that they go to a place, and I'm sure someone will find this. They go to a secret sleeping spot that we have.
It was the gutter up on top of the house. So the rain gutter or whatever that's up on top of the house, that's where they would go generally. And then you could actually see them coming back and forth, depending as if you were paying attention. So I don't know if they still do that, but that's where they were.
In the yard. But yeah, we
No, not
ideally
like this.
you can only really find them at night. But they do go to sleep during the day.
Leave him alone! Oh, I missed with my axe.
Yeah, distracted. I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, your axe
wait,
is
no, he
on his
wants
arm. Your axe is on his arm.
Come back. I'm out of weapons. Let me punch you with this rock. Oh, there it is.
One little small thing that we've improved. Little things make a big difference. All your arrows and thrown weapons that are stuck in creatures, they won't display the icons immediately. So it kind of clarifies the screen a little bit, clears it up when you're fighting or shooting a bunch of arrows into a creature. So there's a little bit of a delay when those pop up, which is pretty nice.
Let's
Speaking of
see.
arrows, Builder Spark would like to know if at some point maybe we can make arrows an auto pickup. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of having to run around and collect stuff, right? Although it would make it so much easier to just be like, yes, I have them all.
That has been suggested in the Discord, which has been upvoted enough to get reported. So I go through all the suggestions in our Discord and read them all. So any suggestion is not ignored, so I read them all. But the ones that have made it to the threshold, which is 35 upvotes, which is the minimum, I put it all into a spreadsheet, and then every week we have a weekly meeting about going over suggestions and community reports and stuff like that with Adam here and the QA team, and we talk about what you guys want. So
Pretty sure you can auto pick up arrows now. Pretty sure that was added at some point. I would love to see the final spreadsheet with all the suggestions that were given that just didn't end up making it. I know I suggested probably dozens of things, and they ended up meeting the threshold. I'm trying to think back of, or any that would have been like really, one that I remember suggesting was scarab slippers. So they would have been like aphid slippers, but you run even faster because the scarabs are so fast and hard to catch. Or hard, yeah, they're hard. You certainly can't catch them, but hard to actually kill unless you one-shot them with a bow. So I thought that would have been cool. There were some others. I think I suggested traps or something like that, but they definitely did implement a good amount of player suggestions, because I remember seeing some of them voting for some of them, and then they ended up coming to the game. So they did do a pretty good job of that. Obviously, you can't put in every single suggestion when you're getting hundreds and hundreds of them a week, but kudos to them for listening to some of the community feedback in terms of what people wanted in the game.
So that has been acknowledged. I want to say.
Nice.
That's not a bad idea, and something that we can look at. No promises, but
See. Windexus would like to know if we would consider a dodge mechanic.
it's something
That would
that
make-
we have talked about to improve combat. It gets a little bit tricky on the controller. So it's something that I think that's part of the challenge of
Damn console players holding back the PC players. No, I'm just joking. The combat in this game is one of its weaker points in terms of like not being able to like dodge roll or jump away. It was basically combat is essentially you either use a ranged weapon and snipe things from far away, or if you're good enough at perfect blocking, you learn the attack patterns, perfect block every attack, and then just slowly whittle away down the health of the enemy depending on how much HP they have. But I would have definitely liked to have seen dodge rolls added so that you can maybe do like iframes where you could avoid attacks, but unfortunately that never made it into the game, so it is what it is.
introducing a dodge mechanic is right now we're overloaded on our buttons on the Xbox controller, so we're just trying to figure out if we do a dodge, like how does it actually, what button you press for it. I'm sure there's smart ways of doing it. It just hasn't been a top priority for us right now. I think it would add.
I honestly wonder because prior to this game, Obsidian was, to the best of my knowledge, PC first in terms of their game design. I believe I'm correct. I could be wrong, but I believe they designed for PC first, and then the games would be ported over to consoles. But had this game been designed specifically for PC, how much different would the combat have been? Because obviously on a mouse and keyboard, you have so many more buttons. You can literally my mouse possibly has more buttons than many controllers. So there's infinite, almost near not infinite, but many more options for key binding in terms of dodge rolling and stuff like that. So unfortunately that's not the case. But like I said, I mean, you got to design for the player base, and the player base, a lot of people use controllers, which is fine. I mean, I used to use a controller when I played on console. I still use controllers for some games, but it would have definitely been cool to see a dodge roll added to the game.
At least some extra mechanics, skill mechanics in combat.
I gotta time it. Oh, I timed it. Nice. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's see.
oh, wrecked. Will we be able to see the Haze Lab soon?
We'll be able to. You can see it right now.
Oh, I
You want to
guess.
see the inside. You want to see the inside of the haze. Yeah, it's something that we've been working on it. It's probably still at this point probably pretty far off. Yeah, I don't think it will be in the next update after Flying Creatures. It's something that we are taking a look at to see how we make that area really cool. But it's in development right now. So it's something that I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think there's a lot of cool ideas that we have for the area, and we're just trying to get it done and make it super cool.
I believe at this point in the game's development, they were doing monthly updates. So the Haze Lab ended up coming not long after this. I think it was if this was January, I think it came later that year. Or it came in the summer, I believe. It was the Hot and Hazy update, if I remember correctly. So it wasn't terribly far off, but in this point they were still doing monthly updates. And obviously it's not coming in the next update, it's not coming next month, but at this point when you're saying it's not, in some games when you're yeah, it won't be in the next update, it might be in the one after that, that could be a year or two away. So in this case it wasn't too far off, but yeah, the monthly update cadence was just not sustainable and just didn't make sense because it's just too taxing on a small team.
All right,
But we'll definitely unlock it at some point.
we're gonna roll the mug winner for the last
Yeah.
mug. Young Ghost 2310.
Perfect. We will get your information so that way we could send you out this beautiful poncho mug.
Yeah, just say something in chat, and one of our mods will DM you to get your shipping information. Let's see how much time.
Gaming.
We got 6
how much
minutes
time?
left.
Minutes? Okay. Hippie Gaming asks, will there be more information on the backstory of what happened to the characters?
Of course, there's going to be more information about the story. But yeah, that's one thing that we are really like. It's something that I had meetings this morning about. We are talking about the story pretty actively, and then we are looking at doing more and more story stuff, and that's something that I'm really excited about. I know the team is excited to do more story things, but we are looking at that. The thing that we are looking at is like, how do we want to dole that out? We've been pretty slow with just trickling that stuff, so we are looking at potentially larger updates with more story. But yeah, definitely more story and more quests and tying the labs together. That's something that we want to do and make that flow feel a lot better once you get to Burgle. And so it's something that we are actively discussing.
Wonder how much the story changed from the concept phase to this live stream here in January of 2021 to a final 1.0. I would love to see like maybe them do like a mini documentary on like, here's how the game, here's what we were originally going to do, and then we end up doing this, because it surely changed over time because things change with the game. Obviously, when you're doing an early access game and try things out and people like them or don't like them, they give you feedback, they give you ideas, things are added that they would not have originally thought of. So definitely probably impacted. I'm sure they had like a general outline of here's how the story's probably going to flow, but it almost definitely changed from the beginning until they ended up the final product. So
Are we gonna roll again? Because Young Ghost has not said anything.
Okay.
How about famous Dynex?
Go. And I love the screen. You
Oh,
stopped
the
on
Brood
Eric.
Mother. Thank you. So the Brood Mother was removed to be reworked. So Brood
Yeah,
Mother.
and we want the Brood Mother. We threw them in on the initial release, just to have like a really hard spider in the yard. One thing that the team really wants to do is create like a cool boss fight. So that's one thing that we are also really like. Just today, people are working on Brood Mother stuff. We want to create cool boss fights in the game, bigger creatures. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I think that whole area will be updated at some point, and you can fight the Brood Mother again.
So for anybody not aware, the Broodmother was in the game at launch. I guess was removed around this time. I know it was removed at some point. Broodmother was not in the game when I came back to it. I tried the game on launch and then didn't play it again until May the following year. So it was about like 10 months later. And at that point, the Broodmother wasn't in, but the Broodmother did come back, I believe, in the Shroom of Doom update, because I believe the Broodmother was the Doom part of it. So I think that was the first big update after I came back. It was the first or second. It was one of the two. So yeah, the Broodmother in there at the beginning, super hard, and then removed to be reworked. So I never got to see the original Broodmother fight myself.
Can we get grappling hooks?
Can we get grappling hooks? Something that we've talked about doing. We are looking at potentially doing some more stuff with the zip lines that might give you some more grappling hook flavor. But that's something that we want to do more like traversal, cool things with traversal. So we are looking at that.
Yeah, I don't think grappling hooks would have... I don't think they would have worked, because they would have let you... I mean, it would have depended on when they gave them to you. And there's really not there's not a ton of verticality in the game. Everything you need to get to that's up high, there's a way to get to it. And the cool part was figuring out how to get up there. Like, how do I get to the lab in the hedge, and then you're like, oh, I got to go up this. It used to be a paper clip, and now I think it's like hedge trimmers or something. And then you wander your way through the maze of the hedge, and then going to like getting into the upper yard. How do I get to the upper yard? How do I get on the picnic table? Originally, people were just like building their way up to the picnic table because they had no idea that you could go up the shovel by blowing up the rock behind it. So those ways of like just of traversing into like of exploring the verticality of the game, I think they would have been diminished if there was a grappling hook in the game. So I'm actually glad they did not put a grappling hook in, unless they were going to put it in like super late. But at that point, you probably already have zip line set up, and it doesn't really make it much of a difference anyway.
All right, we're gonna roll again. How about Steamworks Samurai? Here's a good
And these people just don't want this free mug, huh? There must be AFK in the chat lurking.
one from Nabi Hobby. As a game director, are you responsible in coming up with the game ideas of surviving in a bug world? What made you decide to make a survival game instead of another genre or setting?
I'm partly responsible for it. Way back when we started Grounded, we wanted to do a survival game at Obsidian, and we didn't really know what type of survival game or what we wanted to add to the genre. So we decided to go pretty far from what you would typically think of a traditional Obsidian game and do in the backyard, because we thought the environment really hasn't been done in a video game before, and there's a lot of cool opportunities for design, and it allows us to do a lot of things and have fun with it. So yeah, that's part of my job, is coming up with that stuff, and helping the team reach our goals, and setting those goals, and coming up with a lot of the ideas in the game, especially like the high level stuff and the feels of what we want to do. And I think that's a pretty big challenge, especially with a game that's very experimental like Grounded. There's a lot of things that we've never done before as a team at Obsidian, and also just the genre. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we're adding to the survival game in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's a challenge, and it's really, really fun and rewarding, because Grounded is a great game. It's a lot of fun to work on it.
I will say that I am actually surprised it took this long for someone to take inspiration from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and make it into a survival game. It just seems so obvious after this game came out. Smallland, I guess, is somewhat similar, but you're not playing as like a shrunk down kid. So I'm glad the game exists, because Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was, and one of the reasons I was attracted to this game is I like survival games, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was one of my favorite movies as a child. So it is surprising that with the success of like Minecraft and some other survival games, that no one ever was like, hey, what IP could we like take inspiration from or even use? In this case, they took inspiration from it and make it into a survival game. And Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is perfect, because that movie is just awesome. If you've never seen it, I definitely recommend watching it. It still holds up today.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. So
I got one last thing.
Oh, boom.
Ooh.
One last thing from Adam here.
One more thing. No way.
First, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, because it's been a lot of fun. I got to get back to work. I have a meeting in about 1 minute. But before I leave, and before we leave, I just want to say that the Flying Creature update is coming out tomorrow. So it's going to be live tomorrow. So people that have not joined the flight, the retail build will be updated.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard
have
it.
fun with it.
Straight.
Yes.
And that's why I always tuned in to the live stream, because you never knew at the end if they were going to be like, hey, by the way, this is coming today or tomorrow. So cool to see that
From
back at the
Adam
beginning.
himself, the update will be out tomorrow. So anyone who's not on the public test build will be able to experience all the cool new flying creatures, all the new cool equipments. And yeah, so thank you, Shyla, Adam, for joining us today here for our Casually Grounded weekly stream. We'll be back next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'll catch you guys next time. So everyone have a great rest of the evening, afternoon, day, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we'll catch you guys next time.
So that was the Q&A from the first Casual Grinder live stream, January 27th, 2021. Definitely cool to look back and see the questions that some of you guys asked and the answers that were given and how the game changed from 3.5 years ago to today. I know this has been a long video, so I'm going to leave it at that. I will leave a link to the Obsidian Twitch channel down in the description below if you want to check out their final Casual Grinder live stream on May 29th, 2024. If you found this video interesting, make sure to hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.